What if I said you could turn this into this? Hi guys, I'm Andrew with rockclass101.com, and today I'm excited to announce the launch of our brand new course, which is titled Next Level Strumming. So this course sets out to teach you 4 amazing strumming techniques. So let's take a look at each of them. So our first technique is known as the ghost note strum. Now this is a technique that takes advantage of reentrant tuned ukuleles, aka the high G string. Now, most of the time when we strum down across all 4 strings and then back up across all 4 strings. And it sounds great, but sometimes it can get a little monotonous. Kind of like eating vanilla ice cream. It's good, but sometimes you want to add a little sprinkle. Now that's where our ghost note strum comes in. You see, it replaces some of these down strums with just a single note hit. Just that 4th string, that high G string. And when you do that, your strumming gains an incredible amount of depth. But hey, don't take my word for it. Take a listen. The second technique that you're going to learn is called pulse muting. Just like the ghost note strum, this technique adds variation to your strum pattern, but it does it in a different way. It does it by adding a staccato pop. So let's take a listen. Now our third technique has many different names. Sometimes it's called the sweep strum, other times it's referred to as rasgueado. Heck, I've even heard it called the barrel roll strum. Now this is a technique that's oftentimes heard in flamenco music, but the truth is it can be used in any style or any genre to add a colorful accent and pop to chord hits. Let's take a listen. Now our final technique needs no introduction. It's the ever popular chunk. Now this is the go-to gold standard technique for adding percussion to your rhythm playing. But let's go ahead and take a listen to how it's used in this course. So let's go ahead and take a look at how the course is laid out. In the first module, we're going to recap the fundamentals of strumming. The next 4 modules are identical. They begin by teaching you the mechanics behind executing the technique. And when you're comfortable with that, you're going to learn an exercise that puts each technique to work. All of the exercises are tabbed out and accompanied by an interactive tab player. Now this is a great feature where you can hit play, you can watch the tab scroll across in real time, you can highlight sections to loop bars, you can slow it down to any speed you wish. It's just a great asset in learning techniques like these that much easier. And finally, you're going to put all 4 techniques together to perform this awesome sounding song. So we're actually going to be releasing this song next week as a standalone lesson. But if you're watching this video in the future, well, it's already out, so you can click this link to watch it. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Matt to teach you the very first technique in this course, which is called the ghost note strum.
In this module, we are going to work on the actual ghost note strumming technique. Now, before we dive into that, we actually want to work on just a 16th note strum pattern. And this is going to be measure 1 of the tab for the virtuoso strumming. Now, if we look at this, this is actually one of my favorite rhythms, and it's just going to use down and up strums to make it. So we're going to start by placing our index finger here on the 2nd fret of the C, our middle finger here on the 3rd fret of the E, and our pinky here on the 5th fret of the A. Now, to play this rhythm, what you're going to do is do a down strum. Then you're going to kind of come up missing the strings. And then you're going to do down, up, followed by down, up. Now, that's a little trio, right? Where it says down, down, up, right? And we're going to do that a second time. So it goes like this. Down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. And then what we're going to do after that is we're going to do a down, down, up, and not do a second down, up. So it goes down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up. This creates this really cool sort of like 3-3-2 type of vibe. You might have heard this called like a tresillo rhythm, or there's a lot of different terms for it, but it sounds really, really good. So if I say it through again, it's down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up. It sounds something like this, nice and slow. Down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up. It's kind of hard at first because you kind of want to keep the triplets going, so to speak, right? The sets of 3, but it's really that 3, 3, and 2. That down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up relationship. If this is confusing, just make sure you're looking at the PDF and following along really slowly. Go ahead and pause this video and just sit practicing that down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up to get the sort of feel of it, because this rhythm is what we're going to build everything off of. So that rhythm, when we play it with just our basic strumming, sounds fine, but it lacks depth. And what we're going to do now is we're going to utilize the high G string of our ukulele to create the ultimate depth within our strumming, utilizing the ghost note technique. So to do this technique, what we need to understand is that we're no longer just using our index finger for strumming. We're now going to be sharing some of the responsibilities with our thumb. Specifically though, our thumb is only going to play on that ghost note. That's kind of cool because the ghost note technique is just the high G, G ghost, start with the same letter. It makes it kind of easier to imagine as you're playing it through. But when we're thinking about this, what we're going to do for the technique is something like this. Now, all that is a downstroke motion with my hand. Yet instead of using my index finger to go across all 4 strings as I normally do, I'm instead going to take the thumb and just strike the G string. Now, to practice this, what I really like to recommend is that you keep your hand close to where the body of the ukulele and the fretboards sort of meet. And try to keep that thumb coming down at a little bit of a 45-degree angle like this. And I actually like to use the body of the ukulele to assist with this motion. So I can kind of feel my thumb going into that little divot. And then I sort of will actually collide with the fretboard right here before that thumb releases. And when it releases, instead of going straight down, which can involve strumming all the strings, it comes a little bit outward so that I articulate just that G string with the motion. Now, funny enough, this is it. This is the whole ghost note technique. And really, my favorite part of playing the ukulele is just doing this. But it's using this at speed and in different ways that really creates that sense of depth. Because a ghost note is, instead of being a full strum down or missing going down, it's this little partial motion where we still get some sound, but not the full sound. And that's what makes it so cool. So you'll notice my hand is still moving down like a normal everyday downstroke, but instead of using my index to go across, I'm using that thumb, kind of hooking that G string nice and soft and getting that sort of tone. Now the other thing that goes with the ghost note is the upstrum that comes after it. Normally with our upstrum, we're just using our index and coming straight up. And to be fair, we still are going to be doing that, but we want our position of our hand to kind of change based off of the positioning of the thumb. So when I do my ghost note down, and I want to bring my hand back up, I'm going to use my index finger at a little bit more of an angle. You see how my index finger is coming in front of the thumb? And I'm going to kind of hook the strings a bit, make it a little bit softer than, a really pronounced upstrum. And you'll notice on the tab, anytime there's a ghost note written, the upstrum that follows it's only going to be written as 3 strings. And it's not because it's really important to only hit 3 strings, the A, E, and C strings, but rather I want your mindset to be that you're not coming as completely over all 4 strings, but rather it's a little bit more partial. So here's the thing that we can start to practice. We can do the ghost note, and then we can come up with our index finger. And you notice that upstrum, the index comes more in front of the thumb. So it looks something like this. Now this might be really uncomfortable at first, but the most important thing is efficiency, because this is a technique that's based on speed. And if you're doing this like this, and everything is really inefficient, it's going to be difficult to build up that speed to make this sound really good. So you see the thumb coming down, the hand is more kind of open with this motion, index finger is more in front, comes across the strings. I'm just practicing that sort of ghost followed by the upstrum. Now I'd recommend just working on that for a while, get comfortable with it before trying anything else. But what we're going to look at now is that first rhythm that we talked about. We're going to use the ghost note strum to really make this rhythm awesome. And this is honestly my favorite strum pattern on the ukulele, or at least it's the most used one for sure. So let's go ahead and assume that G5 chord again that we played earlier. So index here on the 2nd fret of the C, middle finger here on the 3rd of the E, and pinky finger here on the 5 of the A. And what we're going to start with is a normal everyday down with your index finger. And we're going to come back up missing the strings, and then we're going to start on this ghost note journey, because what we're going to do is we're going to do a ghost note. So that's the thumb striking just the G. Then we're going to do an up that comes after the ghost, so that index finger kind of hooking like this. You see how it's in front of the strings. And then we're going to do another ghost note, and then another up. So that first little section of just down, ghost up looks like down, ghost up, ghost up. But it continues with that same pattern. So we're going to do another down, ghost up, ghost up. And then we're going to just do a down, ghost up to finish it off. So it's that same sort of 3-3-2 pattern again, right? Where it says down, ghost up, down, ghost up, down, ghost up. Now just doing that right there at that speed takes quite a bit of practice, just because this is a new sort of motion. So if you're struggling with that, that's okay. You can pause the video, come back to it in a couple days after you've been practicing. Just get really comfortable with that down, miss, ghost up, down, miss, ghost up, down, miss, ghost up. And whenever you're working on this sort of pattern, it's a really good idea to make sure that you're repeating it over and over and over. So let's go ahead and hear this now. I'm going to play it at a nice slow time and kind of count it in so that you can hear what this measure 2 on the PDF sounds like. It's going to be something like this. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. I'm just going to repeat it. Really nice sound. Now, it's funny because that's pretty fast, but it's actually really slow. And what I mean by that is, while it's pretty fast for when you're learning it, and it can take a while just to build up that initial speed, that's still doing the technique pretty slowly. You remember I kind of mentioned that's all it is, tapping the G with the thumb, but it's the frequency that we do it that really makes this technique special. So I'm going to play measure 2 again, but I'm going to play it at full speed. And I don't expect you to do this if this is the first time you're watching this video, but rather know that this is what we're working in towards. And so at full speed, it's something like this. And layers. And those layers are being created by the fact that we have some different sort of techniques being in play here. The first one is just our basic downstroke is going to be more pronounced now, not because I'm playing it louder, but rather because the perspective of the other strums is this ghost note, which is really soft and quiet. And this upstroke that's kind of, instead of being really delivered over all four strings, kind of coming up over the strings, you know, a little bit more like this. And that's what creates the depth to this sound. You'll notice the hand is very open, right? We talked about that sort of at the beginning. You want to avoid doing something like this. This can be really bad. You'll see there the index finger is kind of staying behind and there's a lot more forearm motion and it can become very difficult to build up speed. So keeping it more open like that is really important. Now I'm just going to show you a couple different viewpoints of this technique so you can continue to sort of tweak it, but it should look something like this as I hold my uke awkwardly out in front of the camera. You can see that that index finger is, you know, on a down strum, very normal. And then what I'm going to do here on the ghost note is come alongside that sort of area of the uke. And when I strike the string, instead of coming straight down, I come a little bit outward so that I only articulate that G string. And as I come up, my hand shape stays the same. It does not change as my index finger now kind of comes up and catches those strings for a little bit softer of an up strum. So my ghost up looks like this. As soon as I go into a downstroke though, you'll notice that that index finger, if it just did an up after a ghost, and you're going back to a normal down, you kind of curl it inward and come down. And that's one of the tricks with this technique when you're building up speed and everything else, is your strumming is very straight up and down with your normal strum motions and then comes more outward with your ghost notes. And what this does is it creates this little bit of a circular motion where your downstrokes with your index finger are more straight across sort of the fretboard and where it meets the sound hole. And then your up strums are coming more outward in front of that thumb so that ghost note can be manipulated. So it looks kind of like this when you're doing it fast, right? So the down coming in, pretty crazy, right? A lot of little nuances to this technique and everybody does it just a little bit differently. The things that you want to make sure is that you're getting really good tone, that you're getting good articulation, and that you're getting good depth. And what the depth is going to be is created by the variance of different tones. Your up strums should sound different than your down, and that's going to be created by these different techniques. Down being more like this, up being more like that. But that is the ghost note technique in a nutshell. And we're going to be working on it throughout this module or these modules in this course. But that's how we want to start with it and the first thing we want to practice. Just so that you can hear it one more time, I'm going to play measure 1 in the PDF of section A, and then I'm going to play measure 2 so that you can really hear how taking the same rhythm and applying the ghost note technique really makes it sound much better. So here is measure 1, no ghost note strumming. Now with ghost notes, without, really cool. And it's even more effective at speed. I'll do one run through without and then one run through with, being the ghost notes. Right? And you can see how much more relaxed my hand looks with those ghost notes because it helps open up everything. One last note on the ghost note is that I oftentimes will utilize this technique to maintain timing. It actually is a very helpful thing to kind of keep that ghost note moving in the background. And a lot of the different rhythms that I do that are really complex are actually going to be using the ghost note equally for depth of sound and also for a sense of timing. It's almost like you're foot tapping in the background if you make sure you're always doing some sort of strum, whether it's a down or a ghost on all those downbeats. So really quite helpful and a ton of fun to play. So look for the next part of this module to see a progression example using this technique.
All right, guys, so I hope you enjoyed learning this technique. Now, the next lesson in the course teaches you a really cool chord progression that uses the ghost note strum. So if you want to watch that lesson, you can do so by clicking this link or going to the site rockclass101.com and doing a search for Next Level Strumming. So when you're on that page, click the lesson for Module 2, Unit 2. That's where you're going to learn the chord progression. But be sure to go back one lesson, so Module 2, Unit 1, because that's where you'll be able to print the tab for everything related to the ghost note strum. So you can access those lessons and print the tabs for free. All you have to do is sign up for basic membership, which is 100% free. So guys, again, I hope you enjoyed this lesson and we look forward to seeing you in the course.